I'm Bill Patton with 720 Degree Coaching, and it is my distinct pleasure to have on the show today Amanda, the Little Mermaid, Fink. And how are you doing, Amanda?
I'm great, Bill. Thanks so much for having me on the program. Happy to
Okay,
be here. Big fan of
excellent.
you, so I'm super pumped.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And one thing that is part of an effort of this particular show is we want to create a really nice blend of speakers, and we want to get the legendary people, and we want to get the newer people, men and women, and just get every stripe out here talking about tennis. So you're going to see, if you're watching the show, you're going to see a lot more women coaches coming on, and so Amanda is like the first one I've had in quite some time. So we're going to make a real effort
Yay!
that way. All right. So, so let's get a little bit into your background, as a player. How did you grow up learning how to play tennis, and, what was kind of the pinnacle of your career, and then the transition into coaching? And let's see if you can get that all done in under 2 minutes.
You got it. Okay, so
Okay.
I grew up playing tennis in Southern California. I'm a Southern California girl. Played competitively at juniors. Definitely was not a top ranked player until I kind of reached the 16s and 18s. But by then, I had reached kind of the top 10 rankings in the country. Was recruited by USC. Had a great playing experience growing up and a great playing experience at USC. I played from 2005 to 2009. So definitely during the glory years of our athletic program, tennis team
Great.
did great. I learned to at least attempt to learn to volley there because I'm a baseliner. So college was a really big part of me being able to progress myself, as a person and a player. Not only did I learn to volley, but I learned to do my own laundry and a lot of other important life skills that I definitely needed. I always wanted to go and play on the tour eventually, but I knew that I was going to need to be able to learn how to handle myself before doing that, which is why college was great. After I graduated from college with a degree in psychology, I played on the tour for 3 years, reached top 300 in the world, both singles and doubles, traveled all over the place, have friends from all over the world, had a love-hate relationship with tennis, like a lot of us do, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And then as I got a little bit weary of living out of a suitcase, I decided to step down from playing, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So my mom encouraged me to become USPTA certified and to coach some of our friends and neighbors and at our local club until I figured it out. And I started actually enjoying coaching a lot more than I gave it credit for. So now it's become a huge part of my life, and I attribute, it's been a great way to give back to the game. Under 2 minutes? Whoops.
That was like 1 minute, 47 seconds. Yeah.
Let's
So
go.
no, I wasn't even paying attention. But anyway, so all right. Now, and did you play for Dave Borelli by any chance? Who was your coach there?
I didn't. I played for Richard Gallion, who came after Dave Borelli.
Okay.
And Howard Joffrey was the assistant for 2 years, and Wes Knott was the assistant for the other 2 years. But
Okay.
all
Terrific.
really great people, people that really contributed to me growing and had a lot of faith in me recruiting me there. So
Well,
great
terrific.
program.
And you know what? Wes Knott gets a shout out because he just subscribed to my channel. And I'm
Yeah.
not given a lot of shout outs. That's just not my way. But anyway, so let's get into this personality thing. And I think our coaching ideas, I think, overlap on this principle a lot, even though our personalities might not. But because it's an important thing. And I'll start it off this way. I had a sales rep for a local company here that would, if he had to go do something, he would bring me in as his substitute to do demo days and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his comment to me was that he chose me because most tennis pros have a personality that resembles cardboard. And so
Yeah.
this is where I want to start, is that I think this is a really great place for tennis pros to grow
Mm-hmm.
and become better at engaging their audience. So why don't we talk about that aspect of it? Why don't you just take it from there?
Absolutely. So I had mentioned that coaching, I wasn't sure if coaching was going to be part of my long-term career plan. And part of the reason for that is that I felt like I was going to really have a hard time focusing on other people. I had spent my life kind of focusing on myself. And obviously, as everyone knows, I'm, diehard starving for attention. And sometimes it's hard to put that focus on other people and to engage other people. And I think sometimes that's a lost topic a little bit in our industry. As you said, all of us have a great deal of knowledge to contribute. I think most of us know what we're doing, but coaching is really about connecting with someone, to be able to engage with someone. And that's on a bigger level too, to engage with a club or a school or your coaching industry, things like that. It is the most important contribution I think we can make to helping grow people. People are, regardless of, if you have the greatest coaching advice, if you can't deliver it in the right way, someone's not going to be able to listen to it or use it. So it's really important to be able to find a way to deliver things properly and to be able to honestly share yourself in order to do so. And so to your point, so I did a presentation at our USPTA conference just recently about this topic. And when I told my boss, my tennis director, that I was doing it, his first question was, well, Manda, what if someone doesn't have a personality? I have a hard time. I think everyone has things to share. You don't have to be, bubbles like me, or, the quirky, sarcastic you. Everyone has different, wait, who said that? Everyone has different things that they put out there into the world, and it doesn't have to be in a box. Just because you aren't a certain way doesn't mean you don't have special, unique things to contribute. I think a lot of us are a little bit more reserved in sharing those things because we don't think it's, the right time or place, or, not professional. And to that point, obviously you don't talk about politics with your members. There are things that you definitely avoid. But when I get onto the court with players, I tell them, usually within the first 3 weeks of them doing a lesson with me, they find out 3 things. They find out my tennis background, about, my college and professional background. So they know that I, should know what I'm doing. But they also find out that I karaoke every week. So I have a life and other interests outside of tennis. And they find out that I am a professional athlete, but I can't ride a bike. So they find out that I have weaknesses, which hopefully makes me a little more approachable and well-rounded as a person. So more people are able to engage with me. And I think whether or not you're super showy about it, everyone has passions, everyone has knowledge, everyone has weaknesses. So I think those are all things we can share with students.
I have knowledges.
You have knowledges.
I think you're not going to live that one down for a while.
Probably not. That's okay.
So that was really good. That was really good. I appreciate that. So yeah, what I'm hearing too is that, one thing, when I'm assembling a staff of people, I want different kinds of people. So,
right.
I've got the loud, you can hear me on court 8 from court 1 thing figured out.
Yeah.
But I always like to get some quieter people on my staff with me, people who are a little more introverted. So what would you tell the introvert, or what kind of personality traits do you look for as a blend if you're a director, to blend your staff so that you reach the most people? Because yeah, my people love to talk trash with me back and forth, and we have a fun time with that. Some people not so much. They would rather have a kinder, gentler, coach. So when I can, I try to provide that for them.
Right.
So can you flesh that out a little bit more?
Sure. So, if you're working, obviously, like you said, it's really good to work with a mix of people. There are definitely not, people that would rather not handle all of this all the time. When introverted people, like we were discussing earlier, just because you're introverted doesn't mean that you don't have things to give. I just encourage the people that are a little on the quieter side, because I am, working with, whether it's with Sip and Serve or the club, sometimes people that are a little bit in that boat. And I just encourage, listen, it's just about feedback. You don't have to be loud or, super aggressive about it, but you do need to talk to people. I think that is an important skill in our industry. We're in the service industry. So it's okay to be introverted. It's okay not to be super in people's, in someone's face. But I do think to be able to consistently talk to people, to keep a running dialogue going with your students, that's important no matter, how in or out you are and what, you are on the scale of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, to some extent too, there's an element of becoming,
Sure.
when you're a new coach and your expertise is still developing, and maybe you have some self-doubts about, how competent are you and whatnot. I mean, we have to become people who engage other people better. So,
Right.
so to what extent, what kinds of things do you find yourself working on with yourself to become better at engaging with people?
That's a great question. I am again known for my high energy kind of style. But I also, like I said, I have weaknesses. Like for my background, I mean, you'd think that I would be super technically engaged, and I'm more of like a generalist. I definitely don't spend a ton of time, watching videos and things about like, the different forms of the modern forehand and things like that. I know that I have to keep improving in that boat and getting a little more specific about sometimes the technique that I'm delivering. Because when I deliver things, I want it to be quick and I want it to be general and I want it to be now. But when I'm working with different levels of people, different people need different things. And I have to be able to accommodate everyone. And definitely as I'm having players that are more advanced, or quite honestly, there are some people that are just super into technique when they come to see you. And as much as you want to get them a little out of their head, to be able to accomplish certain goals, you kind of you need to be able to speak their language. And if technical is the thing and that's not my strong suit, I have to at least be aware enough. And that's where, your friends and your colleagues and your mentors come in, really handy. This U30, this young group of coaches that I've, this network that we've developed in the past couple of years, if I have, those, I still, like you mentioned earlier, I still have some of those self-doubt, that self-doubt sometimes about, how competent am I in delivering the material that I need to deliver. If I feel any sense of doubt, I have people to call, and it's 100% okay to, again, admit you have weaknesses, get the help you want from the people that are experts in that field, and or seek mentorship, seek the people that are really good at that. And it does to some extent rub off. It's again, me, that part of that coaching part of the world isn't going to be who I am completely as a person, but I can definitely absorb the pieces I need or the pieces I want to be able to be that more complete coach, and be able to deliver in all aspects of the game.
Okay. So, there's a little caveat I would throw on there, because I would say as I get further along, I begin to realize more when a player's just not a good fit with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when people are determined to have their paralysis by analysis, then
Yeah.
then I send them elsewhere, because I just don't have the brain cells to try to make the square peg fit into the round hole. So,
Sure.
you
There's a time and place where that time in your relationship with your student might come, and that's something you have to evaluate if this is something. But there's definitely room usually on both sides for the coach and the student to grow. And I feel like as long as you've tried to explore those options first before obviously you just make a cut, because I think there is definitely potential, as much as like it's frustrating sometimes for a coach to deal with a certain kind of student or a certain
right.
attitude or a certain personality of their own. There's usually room. I mean, those are the people that quite honestly make us better. I mean, it's easy to deliver things to students that it's already very in our comfort zone. It
Okay.
makes us better coaches.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say that is very generally true, and
Okay,
so I really want to affirm what you're saying. I don't want what my next comment or my next
that's okay.
anecdote to be seen as critical of what you're saying, because it's
No
absolutely
big.
not, right? But like, here's an example. Okay, I get a guy and
Okay.
he's in his mid 60s, right?
Hmm.
Old dog, new tricks. It's he's not gonna change. I'm almost as old as him. I'm not gonna change. we're going through the lesson. I'm trying to get him to understand the flow of energy onto the ball, but
Uh-huh.
he's all wrapped up into developing a 17-point checklist on how to do a stroke,
Mm.
right? So, it doesn't take long to figure out that this really is not working. So,
Right.
pretty much at the end of the lesson, his feedback was he wished it had been much more technical. And
Yeah.
my comment was, well, that's not going to work. In fact, it's probably never going to work.
Right.
So, thank you for your time. Thanks for coming out. I am not a good fit for you moving forward.
Yeah, and that's perfectly okay as long as maybe you have like other people. You're like, listen, this isn't working with me, but here are the people that I think, knowing what you want and what how you're trying to operate. Here are the people that'd be great for you, because obviously we want to keep that person going. But you're right, there definitely is a time where it's not going to happen.
Or maybe you don't want to keep that person going, or
Oh my gosh.
maybe you'll refer them to someone who's not your favorite local coach. So I mean, no, it's sometimes you meet people that not 100% of our clientele are likable, lovable people who we actually really want in the game. I mean, it's just absolutely true. We can't please absolutely everybody. But I think let's move on to a
Right.
different topic. So
Go
what's
ahead.
the next natural thing that you'd like to talk about from this?
So I use, so at least in the presentation we've been talking about, so we've been talking about kind of how we relate to our students specifically, and that I always like to broaden that too to our facility. I use the example at our club that, not once I started really engaging with our members, I also started engaging with the club as a whole. So our club is golf, tennis, spa, the whole thing. And usually I'm just on an island on the tennis courts. And sometimes you interact with other departments, but not very often. But I got the opportunity to be in a room with our clubhouse manager when she was coming up with events for the calendar to try to get more engagement of members. And I asked her if she would be willing or be interested in having a karaoke night at the club,
Wow,
because
that's
that's
great.
something that I can truly get behind. And it was, it's a big part of who I am. And she went for it. And not only did she go for it, but she made it like a fancy thing at our upper clubhouse, and allowed me to come and help facilitate it with the person that runs my local karaoke. And through doing that, I got to engage with people that, not necessarily are tennis people. I got to get in front of a lot of people that were golf members that are all of a sudden now interested. Hey, Amanda, we saw you karaoke. It was really fun seeing you. We're kind of interested now knowing what the tennis program is. What's going on down there? How can we get involved? Because this might be now a fun thing to be a part of.
That is terrific. And so this is something I think everybody can work to kind of break down this whole, what's the word? It's like a fortress mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're on our side, you stay on your side, don't
Right.
bother our people, yeah, because this is part of building community. This is a big word for me.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I was doing the thing that you're not supposed to do, where you're thinking about what you're going to say next while you're listening to the person.
That's okay.
So,
Go
but
ahead.
this is something we all have to cop to at times. But this, this is my story for what you're talking about there. So I'm going up to the main clubhouse, and there's a golf member, and he's parked his golf cart, right on top of a red no parking sign for cars.
Ooh.
Right. So
Right.
so I go up to him, and I pretend like I'm flipping open a little notepad, and I say, "Sir, do you know why I've stopped you here?" Right? And then I point to the no parking, right? And then he reaches for his wallet and he says, "Officer, can we take care of this right now?"
That's
And
great.
it was just a beautiful moment, right?
It
And
sounds
I
like it.
and I don't even think he knows I'm the tennis pro, right? I
Yeah.
mean, except for that I'm wearing all tennis clothes and
It's a good hint.
coming from down there where nobody ever goes. So I mean, yeah, so these little moments, I mean, having some fun with people and going outside the box. One thing that we've attempted to do is have like a breakfast at Wimbledon party at the club.
which is great.
you know. And so getting creative with these different things, you know, having viewing parties, having a karaoke night, having,
Yeah.
you know, the other stuff. So
Yeah, if you're, you know, if your goal is to grow something, and which most of us, that's our goal. A lot of us though do stay inside our box and say, you know, the goal is to go on the court, teach tennis lessons, make your money, and get out. But if you're really trying to make an impact somewhere, if whether it's at, you know, your club or just again the game in general, it's about, just like what you said earlier, it's about trying to find ways to build community, and that is the most important thing, and sometimes the thing that's lacking right now. And so, you know, all of us in the industry need to start making a better effort to rebuild and strengthen that community to be better in everything at every level.
yeah. And so it seems like though one of the best practices, no matter where you are and what you're doing, is to be available. But the higher you are in the food chain, whether
Right.
you're a head pro to a director of tennis, or, you know, more people are now doing director of tennis slash general manager, is this availability. So
Right.
what are there limits to what are kind of the, what's the best playing ground
Oh my,
for
yeah.
availability, and how do you create boundaries to that so
That's,
that, you know,
that
you're
is a
not getting,
great question. That
like,
is,
I
so
get
that is
I get
currently
texts at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, yeah, thanks for that, you know.
right. Right. So you know, obviously anyone in the tennis industry is getting emails and texts, you know, around the clock most of the time. And I'm going to have actually, I mean, this is like, this question is my life right now, because at the, you know, in 2020, I'm going to be on, you know, in a more of a leadership position on our USPTA board. I'm on our USTA National Nominating Committee. I have a lot of commitments that I'm currently trying to balance out with, you know, the events that are going on at the club. So I'm in that process of the next level process of trying to, you know, make sure I'm spending my time in the places that are going to make an impact, as well as like what you're talking about, you know, balancing things out. And I am having to look, I'm in the next couple of days, my mentor has suggested that I start making a list of all the things I'm doing and start, you know, making priorities, making things, you know, these are the things that are important to me, or these are the things that are going to make the greatest impact. And those are the things that I need to be spending. Okay, this is where more of my time and more of, quite honestly, my mental effort is going. And based on that list, I'm going to be reevaluating, you know, this is how many hours I should probably be on court. This is how many hours I should probably be spending off court doing these other things. So I'm actually, I mean, I can't wait to have this conversation again in a year, because that's the process
Yeah.
I'm going through right now.
I think
But with
one thing,
in terms of just for like your average teacher, for the amount of hours that we're on court, so an average teaching pro, right? We're teaching, depending on what you're doing, between 5 and 8 hours a day ish. So you have to decide, you know, where are my prime time teaching hours? And again, can I set aside 1 hour or 2 hours a week to do something that is not private lesson based? And that's where you start when you're trying to develop other projects. But in terms of what you're talking about with boundaries, so you know, there's 1,000 great suggestions I've gotten now for doing that. From, you know, there's things,
can
I
you
just had
share
someone,
just a couple of them?
I've heard a lot of them. I just heard from someone last
A
week that has
thousand.
like an addition to their cell phone plan that like creates like a different channel for your clients to use, like almost a different line for your clients to
Oh,
use
okay.
on your
Yeah,
phone,
yeah.
things like that, so that, you know, you can kind of separate it from your personal. There's obviously also, you know, I'm getting better and better at establishing the out of office email, like, hey, you guys, I'm at an event or I'm doing this. I'm going to be responding to emails, but maybe not at lightning speed like I usually do. And, you know, I have had to have some talks with, you know, people at, you know, clients that are, these are the hours that I'm awake. These are the hours I need to be asleep. It's definitely important to establish boundaries. Oh, hi.
Corky
We
has
can spend
decided
time
to
with
make
our
an
loved
appearance.
ones.
He's humongous. He's a 15 pounder. So
Awesome.
he just got the door open that I closed.
Yeah.
This guy's the greatest. Are you the
Oh.
greatest? So I'm gonna let he's had
That's
enough.
okay.
He's had enough. But
Adorable.
it was when I was biting his head off, he
Okay.
got upset a little bit. Okay, so now I mean, I know that part of the struggle is that um people are constantly tennis pros are constantly calculating, you know, amount of effort versus dollars made
Sure.
equals dollars per hour, right?
Right.
So it's like, well, if I, if I become beholden to being available to people at a not paid rate, then that's I'm making less, you know.
Right.
And then I think also there's this image keeping that people have where,
Sure.
okay, so and so is calling me, but if I answer right away, then they're going to know that I'm not on the court, which makes me look not busy.
Wow.
Or
Okay. So
or
that's
if I
been
call
through a
them
lot
back,
more than I have.
if I
Yeah.
if so I don't look cool. I don't look cool if I respond right away. And,
What that's
and
yeah.
there are other little sort of neurotic little things that go through the minds of tennis pros. So
That's a lot. But what I can say is that when you're in this profession, you really have to know what you are in it for. If you are in it for just the money, I mean, you got to get out. I mean, I'm not saying you can't make money in tennis. You definitely can. And there's ways to make money and do well in tennis. But if that is your priority, again, to do that and be in the service industry, any part of the service industry, your priorities are just going to be out of whack there. It You really have to make sure you're doing this because of something you want to give back to people or something you want to contribute to what we're doing.
right.
um because if you
Okay.
really overthink it
So
like that, and plus the
yeah.
things that we're talking about, the things that like I'm doing and I'm not getting paid for them, a lot of them are marketing yourself. A lot of them are putting yourself out there, opening yourself and making yourself more known to many other people. So if you do ever seek another job, you have more things in your resume or more people know who you are. So a lot that thought process has to change. It's not we're doing things and not getting paid. It's we're doing things because we know we should be doing them,
Okay.
and
All right.
because
Let me
we
cut
want
you
to
off
go
there.
ahead.
No, I got you. I got you. I know. There's another one too where then you have the overly humble coach who has a fear of being arrogant, and people have a really hard time believing that was ever me.
Was
But
it
it
you?
was. But it was. No, I mean, I had to overcome my own struggle with my own ego
Hmm.
that I didn't want to be the face of the program. I didn't want
Got it.
people to think I was arrogant. And
Right.
so I didn't put my face on things. And then a good friend of mine, kind of chided me on this, and he said, "Well, look, people sign up for people. So
That's right.
if you put your face on something, then people know who the person is that they'll be contacting."
Right.
And so I had to overcome that. And now the needle has swung a little more the other way. And now I'm not at all afraid to be thought of as arrogant or whatever, just because it's taken such a long time to become confident enough
Sure.
to really make things happen. So I'll take any of the blowback that comes from the perception that maybe I'm overconfident or arrogant because I remember the pain of the former thing.
Right. And I think we're constantly editing though too. I mean, there's something to be said, but we grow and we become who we are. But I think we're also constantly making little edits. I think at least for myself in that department, I am finding little pockets where I do have to be a little more out there. I'm finding pockets now recently where, I'm pretty this and I have to be a little more stern and a little more, structured in what I'm delivering to, people that I'm training, things like that. So I think as much as you definitely do grow and change, that's also kind of, we're in a state of constant growth and change. There's always small edits that we're going to be making to kind of how we're delivering things and what we're doing in the industry.
Okay, so should we talk about listening and communication styles?
Sure. Let's talk about listening and communication styles.
All right. So, it's often been said, and this is like I think a Teddy Roosevelt quote, that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Good one.
So, um, and listening being one of those really big things, what are some other ways that you can communicate that you care, you know, in different ranges from the outgoing to the introverted?
Sure. No matter what, again, that your range is on that scale. I I ask my clients a lot of questions, and again, they're all they range from how did you play in your league match yesterday to how was your weekend to and usually and when I start to get more and more feedback, again, anyone in the service industry knows is you retain that feedback and you kind of come back to these topics, and people will become more comfortable in sharing things with you, sometimes too much. But you do get to know that person, that person is not just someone you're trying to deliver things to. You're their sometimes a lot of tennis coaches say that they end up being their client's psychologist for an hour. It's a
Yeah,
very
no, it,
common
it
thing.
happens. It happens. And I think one of my favorites is when the 5-year-old comes in and says, "My mom just got a traffic ticket." I'm like, "All right, good. I got that over you, lady." Right? So,
Uh,
but no, this happened recently. I had a client, and I could tell something was a little up, right? So I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" Right? Well, and it turns out that her mother is in early dementia, and so she's already sort of in a state of grieving over losing her formerly vivacious, intelligent, fully engaged mother, right?
right.
So you know so we're hitting and we're talking, and there's not really a lot of tennis content going on.
Right. It's people that hire you that give to give tennis lessons. If people just wanted the just the instruction or just the ball feeds, they would play with a ball machine, or quite honestly look at all the instruction that's online now. We are they're coming to see us because we are a person to relate to. And so as much as sometimes, I mean, hopefully it's not all the time that these things happen, but sometimes people just want to come and spend time with you and talk to you and know that they're being heard. Even at the times that the tennis things that go around the club or the facilities that aren't going well, people venting problems and things. Even if I can't fix them, or even if I don't know how to fix them right now, I always want to know. And people are always like, but we feel like we're complaining or bothering you. It's like, listen, this is part of my job. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on with you. I want to be able to help if I can. And if I can't help, I want to try to find the person or the solution that will.
You're gonna love this one, I know
I
it.
can't wait.
So you've reached the pinnacle when you have a client who can't wait to hear your stuff.
Right.
So no, every other Friday I have Christine, and Christine wants to hear all about my family and
Right.
what am I doing, and it's like half the lesson,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. I can
she
relate.
no, she gets a tremendous amount of joy about hearing how I'm doing,
Yeah.
and she pays for the privilege. I'm like, wow. But I think it takes a long, long time to get there. And
Sometimes,
you
but
can't
what we're
expect
doing
that.
is unique. There's things that we're doing, there's like, I just recently, so I just got an award. That was a really nice award, a national award. And my membership did release it to our members and let them know. And a lot of members, they want to know about it. They feel like, this is so cool. You got recognized. What was it for? What have you been doing? Like there's definitely members that, people around you that are going to be really, excited and want to support you and want to know about what you're doing too. Because, again, we're not just doing these things on the court either, right? We're doing more than just beating balls.
Okay, so wow, this just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks right now, because I had never really thought about it this way. But
Mm,
but to some extent, especially if you've been at your club for a while,
hmm.
then people sort of live vicariously through the successes of their tennis pros. So when you do something that brings glory to the right to
Yeah,
the to yeah, so they become successful by association.
Yeah.
So, so then I guess it would be, it's a good thing to share that with people, because then
Sure.
they feel even better about being with you, because your, you know, author- authority has been underlined, your credibility has been established to a greater degree. So,
Absolutely. A win for me
yeah,
is a win for my members.
yeah. No, and it's kind of a funny thing that way. I mean, but I think, so pros make a mistake when they try to be overly humble about those things.
Yeah.
It's okay to share that stuff,
It is.
and all
As
that.
long as you're
Now,
doing it in the right way. There's
yeah,
definitely something to be said for that too. There's a difference between, I don't know, running around and yelling it at people's faces and just being happy and mentioning it. There's definitely a line. But yeah, it's definitely important to be able to share the things that you're doing, because like you just said, it means that the people around you are invested in you too, and they want to be supportive.
yeah, yeah. And also, I think there's also another line that can't be crossed, and it comes from being a glory hound, stealing credit from players. So I'll tell you, I mean, um, there have been times that my teams have done some really amazing things, and one of the most humiliating things for me is when the players have pulled this amazing upset over a higher seeded team,
Mhm.
and they're dogpiling on the court, and you or me as the coach, I can't go out there and dogpile too. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Because, and also to realize, look, they hit all the shots. I did not hit a single shot.
Right.
And it's it's it is humiliating. It really is. I feel extremely humbled by just by the opportunity to be able to help facilitate that,
Hmm.
but not being able to take any credit. So that's where I just kind of slowly cry and walk to the bathroom and let let them have their space in their moments of glory.
I think that you feel the credit come back to you in other ways than
But
dogpile.
at that moment, I'm talking about at
I
that
understand.
moment. But no, I
Yeah.
mean, and this is something that is a problem in our industry. And I have another guest coming on a little bit later, and we're going to drill really deeply into this. The whole, oh yeah, I coached so and so, because now they're successful. So, even though you spent two
Yeah.
weeks with them when they were 8 years old, you know, no, seriously, and
Yeah.
I say that because there was a gal from NorCal here who got a full ride to North Carolina and
Hmm.
won the NCAA doubles, and played the U.S. Open, and I coached her for a couple of months when she was 8,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to mention her name, but
Okay.
but but no, I mean, I could
Yeah.
say that. Oh yeah, I coached her. So, you know, how do we get a hold of that, or is it just one of those things that will just always exist, and we should just sort of accept that there are people that are going to do that?
I think I actually was just witnessing like a conversation about this, about how coaches advertise to get more lessons and things. And the question was, should I be able to post like, hey, I've worked with this person, worked with this person?
Right.
And I don't see the harm of that. I mean, you have. I mean, what I don't like is like, someone saying, "Listen, I was responsible for that person winning this tournament or doing this," because
Right.
listen, they were. You helped, but they didn't.
Right. Right. Right.
But I think that it's okay to tell people that you worked with them. Again, I think there is a line between how you say what you're doing and how you're delivering it. So if I say, yeah, I worked with this player and now, she's doing great and she's now playing at Stanford and all these things, like, that's fine. If you say, yeah, I was responsible for this person's journey and da da da, that's where I get a little bit iffed from
Right,
it,
right.
turned
No,
off
and
from it.
and and we have one particular outlet near me that's really big on plastering the pictures of successful players who merely attend their workouts.
Yeah.
So there's also a funny thing that will happen to those pros where, for instance, this is something I've heard maybe 1,000 times is, oh, I go to such and such workout group, but they're not my coaches. right?
Right.
My private coach is so and so, right? And
Right.
I think it's really interesting how loyal kids are to the people who really truly developed them.
Sure. I mean,
So,
those people
but
are
then
spending the most time with them.
but
However,
then these academies will
mhm,
take a screenshot, right, and plaster that kid's face on the front of their advertising, and that irks a lot of people. But it's
but
you know,
academies are trying to get people to join their academies too.
right,
It's tough because the thing is the clinic and the academy setting. Um, Obviously it's not like people aren't coaching. You're coaching in a group setting, but you're not going to deliver things the same way as you would in a private lesson. You're not going to be able to focus on one person. You're focusing on a group concept or a group effort. I think it's okay to tell people that someone has come to an academy, again, as long as they're not saying we're responsible for this person's growth, because obviously again
right,
that it's a different experience. You could say, if I'm the leader of an academy, here are the kinds of players that have trained with us, that have come to play with us. It's not like I'm taking responsibility for coaching, changing their backhand. But I am saying, listen, we provided an environment that these people wanted to come and be a part of. I think that's fair.
okay, awesome. So what's another big piece of the personality puzzle that coaches will benefit from engaging with?
Um, let's see. Another big piece of the personality puzzle is being able to use, so depending, again, everyone's a little different, but from being able to use those things also when we're talking specifically about being on court, to the actual games and drills that you're delivering and the kind of feedback you're giving during those things. We've kind of generally talked about how you connect with someone as an individual, but I also, at least for my personal, right? Everyone knows that I'm bubbly and I sing and I do all those things. I will do all those things while I am delivering feeding, while I'm doing drills, while I'm doing games. And again, I'm just kind of creating that consistent relationship with the people that are doing the drill, but also, quite honestly, just kind of keeping things fresh and keeping things fun for me.
Mhm.
Because coaching, I mean, if I'm coaching, 6 to 8 hours in a day, regardless of the people that I like or don't like working, all that stuff, it's
Okay.
long and it's a
Yeah, let
lot,
me
and
jump
you
in there.
got
I
to
think
keep
that
yourself
is a
up.
no, that is a great point, and people I think misconstrue what I'm saying when I say this. But if the coach isn't having fun, the kids aren't having fun.
Huge point.
So
Hmm.
so so there's this weird thing between being an athlete-centered coach and really trying to pull stuff out of them, but it's also about what do we deliver,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
And and what we deliver, I mean, I probably wouldn't take a lesson from you because I would probably get tired of the singing at some point, right? So I mean,
Maybe.
I'm just being honest. I mean, but I bet the people that love that a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so same with me. The people that don't like the sarcastic humor and the playful jabs back and forth. I mean, one thing I love is when the kids get comfortable enough to bring me some zingers, right?
Yeah, they
No,
they learn your language and they learn kind of what's okay to throw
so
back and what's not okay to throw back. Sure.
we were at the very end of a little training session, a little 90-minute 3-person pretty high level training session, and it just started raining enough that it wasn't safe anymore,
Hmm.
right? So I'm like, okay, girls, what are we going to do now? And so this is a group, this is like 11 to 13-year-olds, right? So what are we going to do now? And then all of a sudden, the 3 of them go to the net and they conspire for a second. I'm like, what are they talking about? Right? What's going on over there? So we had this little talk going on.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, they started delivering the rest of the lesson as though they were me.
All right.
Oh, I was laughing so hard I was crying. I mean,
Yeah, and how fun is that?
it was of course, it was overblown, right?
Of course.
But oh, so funny. And it was, really sarcastic
Yeah.
and they had the hand motions and everything. I mean, it's just perfect caricature.
Yeah.
So, there's got to be a little give and take that way.
Sure.
Um, so but if we're not having fun, they're not having fun. It's
Right.
you can sort of have your own little barometer because And it might be that you're not having fun because they're not having fun. So
Right.
maybe you have to do something different so that they will have fun.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that comes from everything from what you're delivering to maybe the kinds of drills and games you're playing. A lot of us get really comfortable, including myself. I found myself in, like, last year in a couple of months getting really comfortable playing kind of the same set of games and clinics. And, everyone picks up on that after a while. And you really do have to do a good job of keeping everything fresh for them and quite on for yourself. And because of yourself, that helps them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
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 keeping
yeah.
everything up there.
Well, and to that point too, I think also it's good to kind of try to quash some negativity because we I have a staple of games that I play, and I pretty much let the kids choose most days. And then sometimes we'll play the game that hasn't been played for a while just because, right?
Hmm.
So we play attack and torpedo and stations and monkey in the middle, and and I think there's another one. And so, I let the kids choose generally, but if one's not being done, and then invariably there's a kid who says, "But I don't like this game." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's okay because
Yeah.
this other game, she doesn't like that one, and she
Right.
doesn't like this other one. And so if we let the negative Nancy dictate what game we play, then we won't be playing any games, and we can just do
Yeah.
spider runs the rest of the time. What do you want to do?"
It's adaptable to
Yeah.
ladies' clinics and everything too. Listen, you're never going to be able to please everybody, no matter how hard you try. All you
Right.
can do is, again, keep everything mixed up, keep everything fresh, and know that if someone doesn't like one thing, they're probably going to like what you're doing next. So as long as they are invested in you enough and trust you enough, as a group leader, then negativity shouldn't be that big of a. It should be pretty squashed pretty quickly.
Right. Well, but with teenagers, then sometimes they like to voice their opinion on these things
Sometimes.
negatively. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right. So, anything else? Anything big personality pieces that we need to cover before we wrap up here?
Yeah, so the last piece of the puzzle that I talk about is that, so we talk about, what you're doing on the court, what you're doing for your club, and then I talk about, how that contributes to our, what we're doing as coaches in our coaching organizations, or, our coaching communities. And that goes from, I just want to impress that no matter who you are, out there in the tennis industry, you know things. And the tennis community only gets better when everyone shares things. Again, like we said earlier, you don't have to agree on everything. Don't have to, be the same as everybody. But if you can share things, you're going to help yourself grow and other people grow. And that's relative to, the PTA, PTR, all that stuff as well. And, getting more involved in, your leadership and education and things. A lot of people are afraid to do that because they feel like they're going to get shut down, or it's time that you're not getting paid for, things like that. But I just super impressed that everyone has a chance to really make their mark on what they're doing, and help everyone else in what they're doing as well. So I really just want everyone to share so bad.
Yeah. No, and I like that you use that word community, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, we in Irvine, we had this talk, right?
Right.
We went out for a meal, and that is so huge. So, when you get a chance to party with other pros, do it. No, do it
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
when you eat together and maybe you have a frosty beverage, then conversation it becomes more unifying and whatnot. But
Right.
now, so my hope, I want to challenge people this way with what you just said, because I think, because you didn't say it explicitly, but it's kind of in the background. There are people who shut other people down, and there are the gatekeeper types, and there are the people who set up requirements because they know it would keep people out.
I'm not sure I
So,
would say it like that.
well,
And the
wait
reason
a
I'm saying
second.
that,
Oh
the
my
reason
goodness. Okay, I'm not gonna say exactly what it is, but there's a huge initiative right now that will require organizations to do a certain thing that will eliminate others from consideration. And I'm not
Mhm.
going to name the acronyms that are
Yeah.
doing that.
Mhm.
Okay. But that is real. And I want to challenge everybody to break those sorts of things down. All right. Because we all as tennis coaches need to come together as one big community to all work together for the sport. And a lot of these rivalries and gatekeeping and that kind of stuff is actually very harmful, and it does not allow for the free expression of everyone presenting their personality and their unique contribution that they can make. And honestly, I've been a person who was sort of marginalized for a long time by those type of people, and I just decided not to take it anymore. So I got
my,
mad as
my
hell,
feeling on it is
and
that, like,
yeah.
what my point was is that a lot of, people are people, and if I, if I have you go to someone with an idea or with a thought or something, you know not everyone is as receptive to things as other people. So what I've been trying to encourage people to do is that, listen, if someone says that something isn't a good idea or it's not relevant, maybe you're just not talking, you might not be talking to the right person. It's not
Mm,
that things are trying to get shut down per se. It's just that maybe we need to approach, I've learned, at least from maybe like the things that I've done, like I want to get things done fast and I want them to be new and I want them to be now. But even I've had to learn, listen, maybe we have to think of things in a different way. Maybe if I'm trying to get something done, if I do this, it might actually take away from something else. I've had to, reevaluate the things that, those ideas in that respect. And, to everyone's point, everyone has their own thoughts on, all these things that are going on right now. But in the big picture of it is that all ideas and thoughts are relevant. You just need to, you need to find the right people to talk to. You have to find your community, and there is one for everyone out there.
that no, that was a great rebuttal. So, but no, I think, but it all fits together. And I was
Sure.
thinking about, wow, now we've reached Saturday Night Live status, and I'm Dan Aykroyd, and you're Jane Curtin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what he said, but anyway.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, no, that's a really good way to balance it out for sure. So, but these things, the barriers do exist, and we can remove them. And yes, you have to be patient and understand that these processes take some time, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, 25 years ago, I kept going to conventions and going, "Hey, how come nobody talks to the young people?"
Hmm.
I would bring a young pro with me, introduce them to everybody, and then at the end of the weekend go, "Hey, how many people talked to you a second time?" And the answer was 0.
Hmm.
So it took that long for the U30 program to come about.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I have to, I think I played a little bit of a role in getting leadership to realize you do have to pay attention to the young pros
Yeah.
and bring them in and listen to them. And even if they have stupid ideas, listen to their stupid idea so that so they know you're listening to them.
Yeah. But they also keep, these younger upcoming people. I mean, I've already been inspired by a good chunk of, these people that are younger than me. They have, new takes on things. They have new ways to look at things. They're going to keep us relevant. They're going to keep
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
relevant.
yeah,
They're going
yeah.
to keep us growing and going.
Okay,
Um,
here's the last thing I want to
yeah.
say, and then I'm going to let you wrap it up. Okay,
Okay.
so I had this guy on my staff who was about a 6-0 level player, and he was from the Philippines. All of his training was in the Philippines, and he played in the Pan America Games for them. And super guy, right? So anyway, one day in the summer, he comes up to me, hey Bill, can I run the junior program today, right? And then Bill, control freak, is like, yeah, I don't know about this, right? Okay, right? So I let him do it, and he gave this amazing lesson and workout, and it changed my paradigm for coaching.
Wow.
And since then, I mean, that moment created so much of what has made me a good coach today,
Mhm.
and runs through a lot of my writing and everything I'm teaching.
Right.
Um, and so, but if I hadn't let him do that because I have too much of a control freak nature, then I lose out on the richness of that experience. And
Yep.
so, so what his whole thing was the difference between being active and passive, and how certain parts of the stroke need to be active and other parts of your body need to be passive,
Okay.
and your mindset, you need to be active at times, you need to be passive at times, and
Hmm.
and knowing when, so that was pretty good. All
Interesting.
right, so bring it home. Why don't you summarize what are the big take homes from this talk?
The big take homes from this talk. So the big take homes from this talk are to make sure, whether you're a teaching pro, you just work at a club, you're directing, make sure that, you are making an impact somewhere. We are in the service industry, and we're in the service industry because we want to help people and we want to grow our sport. So make sure our priorities are in line. And then once they are, try to figure out, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and be accepting of them. It's okay to have both of those things. It's okay to share both of those things for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And let those things help develop your programs. Let them help you make a standing impression on not only your students, but also where you are, and maybe your greater coaching community, or maybe our overall, growth of tennis in general. Because again, you all know things, and we want you to share them. That's it.
Absolutely. That Thank you so much for coming on to the show here.
My pleasure.
I'm very happy with how this all turned out, and
That's great.
yeah. And so basically, it's funny. I don't even think I'm going to do any editing to this. I think this is going to be on
You're
YouTube,
not
like,
not even
and
our fun tennis industry debate.
no, it's a keeper because people
Okay.
need to hear that stuff.
Okay.
No, and I think your opinion, both those opinions coming together need to be part of the great debate, and
Mhm.
a part of the community building of the entire industry, because these divisions that currently exist, if those are broken down, there's so much more we can do.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
anyway, so how can people reach out to you if they would like to come to your area and take a lesson, or get your mentoring, or mentor you, or
Yeah,
whatever?
unfortunately, I'm a members only club, so I can't take anyone outside the bubble. But people are more than welcome to use my email address
Okay.
to contact me for any questions, and then I will be able to follow up with them if they
Hire
have
you
any
as a
inquiries.
speaker. Get Amanda at your conference.
There we
She
go.
will light it up, and then sing a little Disney for a second.
Sing
Under,
a little Disney for a second.
Sing us a little Disney.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun,
Okay, good. That's good.
wandering free.
All right.
Wish I could be part of your world.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.